one of the first meetings that we have in these learning series between Commerce7 and WISE. We are thrilled to welcome you all here today. I do appreciate that we've got everyone muted. That helps us eliminate the background noise. So if you wouldn't mind, just keep yourself muted, that'd be great. I see that many of you have changed your names to include your winery name and location. That is fabulous as well. And I see everyone introducing themselves in chat. Great to get to know everyone here. My name is Liz Mercer, and I am with the WISE Academy, which stands for Wine Industry Sales Education. I'll tell you a little bit more about us in just a moment, but to give you an update, I am here with my colleague and friend, Jennifer Warrington from the WISE Academy as well. If you have any questions, you can feel free to direct those to her. And my co-presenter, my co-pilot is Zach from Commerce7. So just a little bit of what we're going to talk about today. Today's focus is on wine club and wine club strategies. Kind of broken it down into three main topics. First of all, identify. So we're going to look at some CRM strategies within Commerce7 and how do we engage members both in the area, out of the area, and Zach's got some great insights onto that, and then grow. So we will be working through those. We have two upcoming workshops. We'd love to have you register for those. One is on October 28th. We'll be talking about DTC beyond the tasting room. So a heavy focus on all things e-commerce, but also virtual experiences, phone. What else can we be doing outside the tasting room? And then on the 30th of November, we will be looking at year-end trends. And that will be Wine Pulse, WISE, and Commerce7. So we'll have Wine Pulse be our special guest on November 30th. Zach, did I miss anything on those?
Oh, you got it. Yeah, really excited about the upcoming events. As Liz said, on the 28th, right, going to be talking a lot about e-commerce and other strategies outside the tasting room. And on November 30th, we've got a lot of great data. Wine Pulse has a lot of great data. Just talking about, what trends we've seen over the year and other insights. And yeah, really excited about those upcoming workshops.
And we put a couple of upcoming classes up there that WISE is offering. If there's something you're interested in taking a deeper dive into, certainly reach out to us and we can invite you to those. So a little bit about who we are. WISE, which stands for Wine Industry Sales Education, was born out of the idea about 12 years ago that as an industry, we are fabulous at learning how to talk about wine, but we were kind of lacking in how to engage with our guests. And so we were born to bridge that gap between what the winery has to offer and what our guest is looking for. We're looking to raise the bar for both guest experiences as well as for our individual careers in the wine industry and the professionalism in the industry. Zach, tell us a little bit about Commerce7.
Yeah, definitely. So Commerce7, we're a winery direct-to-consumer sales platform. So our winery clients, we've got about just shy of 700 of them around the world here. They use our system to basically sell through all their major direct-to-consumer sales channels. We have e-commerce tools they use on their website. We've got club management tools, reservation system, a point-of-sale system for the tasting room. And it's all combined with one centralized CRM. And, the mission here at Commerce7 is really to empower wineries to provide their customers with great shopping experiences, right? So there's a huge emphasis with the platform on the end consumer's experience. So that's Commerce7 there. Really excited to be here today with WISE. We do a lot of stuff with WISE. We've got a great relationship. I think it's a really good combination as well because, although we're both really focused on DTC sales in the wine industry, both our companies here, we've got kind of different sets of knowledge and experience that we can leverage to kind of help your business, right? Commerce7, we're really focused on, a lot of the touch points and strategies where your staff's not really involved or directly involved, right? On the website, managing the club on their own, things like that. Whereas WISE, they've got a lot of kind of hands-on experience and knowledge that they can help you guys with strategies in the tasting room, engaging with guests, interacting with club members and outbound sales and things like that. So I think it's a really good contrast here, really good kind of best of both worlds of the knowledge and experience here.
Yeah, Great. All right, well, let's dive into this. We're going to leave time at the end for some Q&A. So if you have questions, I should also note you can go ahead and put those into chat or direct them to Jen Warrington. She'll be able to kind of put those into a parking lot that we can get to, and she'll call our attention to when those are. But we will try and leave a few minutes for a Q&A at the end. So at Wise, we've developed over the 12 years now, we have about 80 full 8-hour days worth of content that we deliver in a variety of different ways, whether it's in-person classrooms, whether it's Zooms, whether it's on-site coaching and training with your winery. And over the years, we've developed a couple of fundamental tools. And to share one of those, this is I know the slide seems very busy and we'll walk through it in just a moment here, but this is really an interesting way to approach CRM for your DTC business. And on this, we've broken it up into quadrants. And where Zach has some of the very quantitative metrics behind the business, and you can identify customers by specific behaviors or milestones that they might have hit in your customer relationship management journey with them. We're looking at it from a philosophical or from a little bit more qualitative. And these are the folks that when they come into your business or when they email you, you know who they are. And so we started to put some names to this. And the way that we look at this is on one axis, we look at the effort involved with that guest. Is it from low effort to high effort? And then on the other axis, we're looking at value that has grown. Is it low value guest or is it a high value guest? So if we were to start in the bottom left, we have those that are relatively low effort, as well as in the grand scheme of things, probably lower on the value end. These are our more passive wine club members. They're steady value. They only take the shipments. They rarely call or email. They rarely make purchases outside their shipments. And if they visit, it's only to pick up their wine, rarely to purchase and take advantage of their tasting. It's rarely much beyond that. And between what Commerce7 has to offer, we can identify who they are, and we know who's going to go into that bucket. That we can pretty much tell from a quantitative viewpoint. There's a number of tools that you can use through reporting, through looking at club member reports, and that you can see, yeah, that's who these folks are. Through the use of tags, we can tag people into that quadrant. And then moving along that effort scale, we move into high maintenance, low value. And these are the ones that we smile and nod. They only take the shipments, customized, of course, usually over phone or email. They're not going to do anything automatic. They require lots of handholding. They're fairly demanding of our time, and they think that they're high value. But in reality, because we can see the scope of all of our members, they tend to be more on the lower value. Then we have our patrons, which are now we've moved up into higher value, but they're also high effort, high touch, high reward. They buy and they buy regularly, but they let you know it. And they let everybody else in the tasting room know it. And they let everybody else in the winery know it. They make their presence known. And they bring us friends, but friends that benefit them. So oftentimes they're traveling with an entourage. And keep in mind, we love all these wine club members. But we also know that our patrons are a little bit more on the high touch. And when we invest in that relationship, it certainly pays off for us. And then we get to where we wish we could clone our entire database and have these high value, but relatively low effort wine club members. They're the real influencers. They take every single shipment. They respond to self-offers, often online. They're very self-sufficient. They know how to go in and customize their memberships. They know how to go in and to do everything that they want to have happen. They don't expect any special treatment. In fact, they get very embarrassed if we do any special treatment for them when they come into the tasting room. And that's really kind of, I mean, in an ideal world, that's where all of our members would be. But in reality, they tend to go all over the spectrum. So we can use both quantitative tools that are found in Commerce7, and then we can use the qualitative, the anecdotal, the things that our frontline tasting room staff is telling us, or our frontline wine club team is telling us, to start to tag and categorize into these. And this is one way to look at it. We've put some labels on them. You can certainly label them in a way that makes sense for you and for your business, and tag them in a way that makes sense for you and your business. This doesn't affect their club membership. Zach, just to be clear, a guest would never see a tag, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So guests will never see a tag. They'll never see a note or a flag or any kind of other kind of back-end identifier on them.
Great.
Mhm.
So what we want to do is to really start to put some strategies behind each of these. And so we can start to think about member engagement. We can start to think about member retention. How do we sell more wine via our wine club, hopefully in a more automated way, so that we're moving them up into that relatively low value, or sorry, high value, low effort category? And how do we grow more club memberships? So if we start to think about these from a strategic standpoint, we can really start to put together some tactics using Commerce7 to get this in here and to get this really kind of concrete for everybody to see. So let's go ahead, and I'd like to launch a quick poll as we're thinking about member engagement, retention, selling more wine via club, growing more club memberships. One of the best things that we have available to us is the ability to customize. Jen, can you launch the poll for us?
Done.
So there's a quick poll that will pop up.
Everybody's seeing the results coming in.
Ironically, I'm not.
So we have about 72% responding so far out of everyone that's in the on the call. It's getting pretty interesting. Yeah. Right now, we're sitting at, okay, so 80% have participated. Right now, we're sitting at about 60% yes, customized products within limitations. 24%, 25% say yes, customized products with no limitations. 4% say customized products and frequency with no limitations, and 12% are saying no customization.
All right. So let's dive into some insights that Zach has when it comes to this, particularly around member engagement. Zach, are you ready? I'm going to go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. So awesome to see the results there, right? I see that 3 people are allowing members to customize the products and frequency, which means you're doing a subscription club, which is exciting for our team here. Looks like the majority are allowing customization of products within limitations. About 25% are allowing customized products with no limitations, and then you got a smaller cohort there that's doing no customizations. One way to really boost member engagement is to, one, allow them to engage and customize the package, but also make it really easy for them to do that, right? And to encourage them to do that. And there's different levels of customization you can offer. You can allow members to, as the kind of poll outline, you can allow them to customize within limitations you preset. You can allow them kind of free range with the products. You can allow them free range with the frequency of the shipments, the specific shipment dates. Right? There's a lot of, it's not an all or nothing kind of ordeal here with customization. There's kind of levels to it. And I know that it can be challenging to allow customization. It does bring some, for some wineries, it does bring fulfillment challenges. Now instead of picking and packing all these standardized boxes, you've got to really spend a lot more time, kind of going one by one and customizing each box you're packing there. It can also be intimidating to allow this much flexibility, right? If you've got a couple hundred members, couple thousand members, you've got this really kind of secure and stable and easy to project source of revenue. And when you let people kind of customize, it gets a little less clear what's going to end up happening. And so even though it can be complicated, even though it can be intimidating, it's something that we definitely recommend here at Commerce7. We see it as a way to drive signups. We see it as a way to drive order value, to drive retention. We've got a lot of great data around this here. I'm going to go through here on the screen here today. So first, how many wineries are actually doing this? When we look at our aggregate data here at Commerce7, right, it's made up of about 680 wineries. About 80% of those wineries are in the US. When we look at the aggregate data, we see that about 74% of clubs on our platform are offering some level of customization, some level of flexibility. Interestingly enough, it's pretty in line with what the results of the poll here. We see that about 77% of packages are user choice packages, so that's pretty in line there as well. So most wineries are offering some level of customization. And the impact that that's having for the members, we see that about 28% of members on average are editing a package if they're given the opportunity. And this actually jumps to 38%, right? About 38% of members are going to edit a package if given the opportunity, if they're given an alert or a notification that this is an option they can take advantage of, and that they should, kind of get on this here, right? So we see a pretty big jump there if, from the members who are able to edit versus the members who are able to edit that are alerted that they're able to edit. We see that go even higher there. And so you have these members customizing, what's the impact of that? Well, it's got a really good impact on your average order value. We see that on average, the average order value increases by about 20% when a package is edited. Right. So in theory, the more customization you allow, the more members are customizing, the more revenue you're making, because we see the average order value goes up by about 20%. Right. It doesn't go down, it's going up. People are adding more than they're removing. So you're getting more revenue there. We also see it have a good impact on retention. We know that on average, club members canceling in the first year, it's about 17.4%. So about 17.4% of members are going to cancel in the first year of their club. On our system. And we see this number drop down to 12.3. So pretty significant drop there if the members have edited at least one package within that year, right? So when you allow them to edit, yes, it can be a little intimidating and it can bring some fulfillment challenges, but we definitely think it's worth it. We know that a lot of members will edit and want to edit. We know that when they do make changes and customizations, the average order value is going to go up and the retention is going to be longer as well there. So pretty powerful impact there for your winery.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk just for a minute? There's a couple of things that come up for me when you're presenting this information. So the first thing that comes up for me is, what if I have a couple of highly allocated wines and I'm really worried about overselling or worried about people customizing too much and dealing with the backlash? What are some strategies that you've seen that wineries have deployed to really make sure that they're going to be okay with inventory?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's definitely a concern that a lot of wineries have. There's a couple of things you can do. So one is that when if you're allowing them to customize within limitations, those limitations can be on a product by product or a SKU by SKU level. So if you've got a couple of SKUs that are highly allocated, really low inventory, you can set maximum quantity restrictions on those specific SKUs, right? So you can say, my members, you're able to add and remove, and you can, change bottles in the package. But with this specific highly allocated product, you're only allowed, one of these, or you're only allowed two of these, right? And so you can kind of have max quantity restrictions on a product by product level. If that isn't enough, if you're, really highly allocated, or maybe you want to kind of go about it a different way, another thing you can do is you can use, we've got a lot of tools in the system like our query builder. There's a lot of integrations like Wine Pulse out there that are going to tell you basically who are the, for lack of a better word, the best members, right? Who's been there the longest, who buys the most consistently. You can kind of find a sub-segment of your club members and decide you want to build an allocation for them. You want to give them exclusive access to that rare wine or that highly allocated wine. You can.
You're saying if I use tags and
exactly.
I've identified who are in those high value, low effort kind of club members, then I can use that to really help me focus in on when I'm having to make those allocation decisions.
Exactly. Yeah. Deciding who's going to have access to that highly allocated wine there. Exactly. Using the query builder to find, who these members are, and then tagging them to give them the exclusive access there.
And Zach, do you think either later or a follow-up, you could give us a link to where those instructions, or like the how-to? There's some questions about how-to.
Yeah, I can definitely follow up with the instructions there for sure.
Okay, right.
So another question that's coming up that I'm seeing in chat that I'm really interested in diving into a little bit more. Let's talk for a second about subscription versus club. So the conversation here is we have recently moved from quarterly club shipments. Now kind of members can order what they want when they want. And then for those the other question that's coming in is moving from subscription to allowing members to customize and order at any time. How has that affected revenue stream forecasting? Two great questions. So one is kind of more on the guest experience side and some best practices that you would recommend. Mm-hmm. And then the other is on the business side and really focusing in on kind of the, live and die by the cash flow plans for some of us.
Yeah, definitely. So first, I think it's important to kind of clarify the differences here with the club versus the subscription. So on our platform, you can think of a subscription as essentially a user choice club that takes the member's experience a little further. Not only does it allow them to customize the products in the shipment, the member can also customize the frequency of the packages. So let's say they're getting the package every 3 months and they say, you know what, I need more wine. They can switch to getting the package every 2 months or every 4 months, right? They can switch frequencies there. They can also customize their specific shipment dates. You know, let's say my package is set to ship on the 15th, but I've got a big event on the 9th. As a member, I'd be able to customize my shipment date and say, I'm going to have it ship on the 1st. So I have it, in time for my important event on the 9th there. Final difference here is that you have the option with subscriptions to give all members a unique curated default package that's basically specific to them and their preferences, right? So let's say that I only ever buy red wines. Liz, you only ever buy white wines. If we're both in this subscription club here, we can each start off with a different default offering, right? Mine's going to be all reds, yours is going to be all whites, based off our preferences there. So that's the difference. We don't have a ton of data today in terms of the impact of revenue for the subscriptions. That's definitely going to change here, right? When we do our November 30th webinar, the kind of data deep dive there, we're going to pull all this up from the last year and a half when we've had this running here, and we should have some pretty insightful data there around the impact in revenue. So definitely stay tuned for that. I can tell you though, we see some wineries today. We've got a case study about this I can link to, but we do see some wineries that are using the subscriptions as kind of a retention tactic, right? So what they're doing is they're saying anytime somebody wants to cancel the standard club, they're using that as an opportunity to pitch them the subscription that's going to have a lot more flexibility. And so they bring it up as an option. Or you can dial it back, or you can customize the frequency or the shipment dates, or really build what you're looking for there. And they're seeing that as a great way. They've got really high retention there in terms of people switching clubs rather than canceling.
Great. Thank you.
Excuse me.
All right.
Excuse me. I'm gonna need.
Jen, it sounds like there's somebody that we need to mute.
And I'll come back and pick mine up because I don't have money.
So to continue to build on this then. So if member engagement is one strategy. Oh, and there's another question in here. Actually, that we should address first. Zach, I heard you say you can restrict certain products to tags, even if a product it is restricted to tag. If it is included in an option in a club package, anyone in the club package would be able to add it.
Yeah, that's definitely true. So when I'm talking about restricting products to tags, I'm talking about our allocation functionality rather than the club. So, let's say that you've got a highly allocated product, right? Really low inventory. One option would be find the club members who, are in that kind of upper segment that you want to have access to this highly allocated product. Tag them and then offer that allocation, right? And so you can have them, when they come to the site, that can be right on the homepage just for them, basically saying, hey, we really value your membership. We're going to give you access to this. Feel free to add this to your cart here. So it is separate from the club, but it's still just allocating those highly allocated products to those specific members and making them only available to those specific members.
Great. And then there's been the request in there to send some links. So yes, we will absolutely follow up with specific links to specific things that we're talking about today. If member engagement is, here's one way to really engage our members. Let's switch gears just for a moment and talk about member retention. And this is another core concept for WISE, is that we look at things for everybody who's coming into our business. And we, again, say the more time and experience with us, the more they increase in value with us. And so what this is saying here is that we should be having, when our members are coming in the room or when they're calling us, we should be having them and engaging them differently. And we should be focused on different, really different tactics. So somebody who is a repeat buyer or a wine club member or has moved up into that loyal fan mode, we're going to treat them very differently. I got really excited around some of what Commerce7 has when it comes to retention and to growing people up this scale, if you will. There's, besides what we do through Wine Club, there's really some opportunity around what we do with them online. And Zach, I'm going to ask you in just a minute to show us some different things that we can be doing to work through that. This is where we have an opportunity to engage and give different experiences to guests online, over virtual experiences, over the phone. So all those things beyond the tasting room, which we're going to talk about in our next session. But it also identifies that we need to have different experiences and customized experiences for people where they are. For example, if I have somebody coming to the website, I really want to focus on, who is a loyal fan. I want to give them a very different experience than somebody who is just browsing my website for the first time, or a member who has not really had many shipments with us. They're going to have a different experience. They're going to have different needs. They're going to have different, really different wine knowledge, brand knowledge. So we want to make sure that we're respecting them. And this is where really engaging them and focusing on retention can be very helpful. Zach, you had some really interesting ideas when it comes to selling more wine to members. And when we look at it in kind of this context or this spectrum or this buyer's continuum, if you will, noting that they have different needs along the way. I was really interested in hearing more about how we're going to sell more wine to Wine Club members through personalization.
Yeah, there's definitely some options there. So with Commerce7, we have some personalization tools. Essentially, what those allow you to do is they allow you to change the content, change the products that a specific visitor on your website sees based on your relationship with that visitor. So essentially, a club member comes to the site, they can see completely different content on the homepage than somebody who is, a first-time buyer or a repeat buyer or just not a club member at all. Right. So when club members come to the site, some ways you can help sell more wine is you can make it really easy for them to customize their next package right up front. You can show them the next package right on the homepage. As we saw in the data earlier, when people are editing and customizing the package, average order value is going up. So make it really obvious for them how they can customize that package there. Some other options is, you can show member-only SKUs right up front and encourage them to buy, right? As we were talking about earlier, if you've got something that's highly allocated or member-only, make it really obvious through the personalizations on the site, put it on the homepage for them, put it at the top of the wine list for them, make it really obvious for them to kind of see those products and encourage them to buy those products. If they're in state, if they're in the same state as you, you can show member-only events to them, encourage them to come out, right? And maybe if they're out of state, you want to show different shipping incentives they get as a member, encourage them to buy, through e-commerce as well there. And so, all in all, you can just really understand kind of who's who, the context of their relationship with you, be a little more granular and kind of personalize their experience on the site based off that relationship. Right, whether it's showing them member-only events if they're nearby, member-only shipping opportunities if they're out of state, member-only SKUs, their next package, and encourage them to customize. A lot of options there to essentially sell more wine through the club with personalization there.
Great, thank you. So going back to that idea then of the buyer's continuum, and that people have different needs along the way, that people are focused on really, so what are the, how can we help move them up through the use of technology, being more personalized, the tool that's within within Commerce7. How many, do you know how many wineries are using personalization?
Yeah, it's only about 15% of our clients actually using personalization. But we do see that, so it is a minority there, but we do see that almost half of all add to cart clicks for products, so almost half of the products that are added to the cart are coming from a personalized page. So these personalized pages, they're converting them almost 6 times higher than the standard product pages. So it's definitely, an initiative we're taking to try to, encourage people and make it easier for them to kind of personalize and take advantage of the personalization tools on our platform.
6 times more closure rate on a cart when personalization.
Yeah, sorry, add to cart clicks. So products being added to the cart there, not necessarily cart conversions, but basically, when you take a personalized page versus a non-personalized page, there's a 6 times higher chance that a product is going to be added to the shopping cart from that personalized page.
Got it. Okay. And this is included already in the service.
Exactly.
Okay. I think that this would be another one that would be helpful to have. To getting it set up, what does that entail?
Yeah, we have some recorded webinars and best practices and documents with placeholder content to all get this going. Happy to send that out if anyone is interested. But basically, you need your designer to drop one line of code into the website, and that line is basically going to say, where's the personalized content show up, and then you as a winery, you're able to, in the back end, to really easily customize the content that's going to show up based on who's visiting. You can build different segments that'll see different content, figure out what products they're going to see, figure out what content they're going to see. So it's pretty straightforward. You just need your designer to drop one line of code into the spot where you want this personalization to show up.
And just for perspective, one line of code getting that dropped in, that's a 3-hour project, that's a half an hour project, that's a somewhere in between.
It really depends on the website and how much customization is done on the site.
Okay.
But yeah, we've seen it be a pretty quick process for the designer, especially if they have already like a style sheet and everything like that for the site, which most have. And if you're using a template today, all the templates have personalizations already built into them on the homepage.
Thank you for putting the kind of the size, you put the size of prize out there nicely, like what we're going to do, and then also what it's going to require on our end. Once it's in there, is there any ongoing maintenance that a winery would need to do? Or once it's done, it's done.
Once it's done, it's done. If you want to change out the different offers that show up to different visitors, that's definitely kind of an ongoing maintenance there. But if you want to have something that's just kind of set and forget, you can definitely do that. The placeholder content that we recommend, it's basically personalizing based off where the visitor is in the loyalty ladder or the customer ladder. So there's a piece of content for anonymous visitors, which is basically just tells the brand story, offers some recommended products. There's a piece of content for first-time buyers, greets the visitor back by their first name, recommends products to them based off their purchase history. There's a piece of content for repeat buyers, right? People who've bought multiple times, which basically encourages them to join the club, outlines the benefits of joining the club, has a big call to action to join the club. And then the final piece of content is for club members, which shows them their next shipment that's coming up and makes it really easy to customize that.
Great. Okay, fabulous.
So
go ahead, Jen.
one question in regards to the subscription model from Jessica at Pangloss and Repris. Is there a way to sort of, she's curious that those that move from the subscription model to customization, how it's affected the company's revenue stream for forecasting. So anybody got some feedback on how that might be helpful or a way to accomplish that or account for that?
Yeah, so there's a fairly large winery in Texas that is using our subscriptions today with I think it's a couple hundred or it could even be 1,000 members in there. And we did a case study interview with them. And so Jessica, I'll send that over afterwards. But they kind of talk about how they built this up and how it's impacted the revenue there. Unfortunately, we don't really have enough data at the moment about this for me to kind of make a statement about it, but I think that's going to change here when we launch our next data book here at the end of the year.
Yeah, I was just talking to a winery in South Africa yesterday about this, and they said subscriptions are huge for their clientele. They love it. And so I wonder if it's also perhaps a cultural thing where subscriptions are used in other ways or other products outside of wine. And so there's an easy adoption
other
from the
industries.
consumer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Great. Okay, great. There a great comment that just came in on a direct chat around, and perhaps this is a cultural thing and the individual called it out. Is there club members not wanting to save their credit cards online? Zach, can you just speak briefly, since the question came up? This is a great opportunity just to put all of our minds at ease. A little bit off topic, but if you put all of our minds at ease around some of the steps that you've taken to protect data.
Yeah, definitely. So with credit cards specifically, good thing to know is that the credit card number is not stored at Commerce7, right? We don't have access to the credit card number. As a winery, you guys don't have access to the specific credit card number, right? What we have is the credit card token. Credit card token is a lot different than the credit card number. So the credit card token allows us to, have like a one-click purchase, right? Recharge the card every club package. Have customers make one-click purchases on e-com, things like that. But for whatever reason, if you as the winery were ever hacked, if Commerce7 was ever hacked or anything like that, nobody's credit card is ever compromised because we don't actually have the credit card details. We just have the credit card token. We're also PCI compliant, so we're able to kind of pass the tokens back and forth there compliantly. But the actual credit card itself, that's stored at the payment processor. And those institutions have very rigorous compliance and security standards that they got to adhere to.
And those are global.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's not, the question came in, was it international? So I just want to make sure that we were addressing that. Okay, great. So there's a lot of questions coming in, which I appreciate. There's some challenges with credit cards dropping from files. Is that part of the tokenization process?
Yeah, so we have the auto credit card updater functionality. So essentially, if a member's card expires and the bank issues them a new card, we're going to automatically capture that updated card info. You don't have to reach out to the customer and get their updated card or anything like that. So that helps with a lot of involuntary churn where they just got a new card and it's not giving them an opportunity to basically kind of churn out because of that. Other than that, we have auto decline emails. If somebody's card declines, we're going to automatically email them asking them to update a new one. Pretty cool integration that launched recently, used by a couple of wineries. Is Red Chirp. It's basically an SMS. Yeah, I think Liz, you use it at the winery you work at there.
Yep.
It's an SMS integration that was just announced, and they've got a function on there for you to automatically text all your club members who had declines, and the member's able to update the card on file through text there. And I think they're seeing a lot of, you can probably speak more to that than I can, but I think they're seeing a lot of success with that there.
Can speak firsthand from that. And yes, yes, we have. But Red Chirp is a whole nother conversation, and perhaps that's good for the beyond tasting room conversation and how we're engaging people. But my philosophy is to meet guests where they are in whatever medium that they want to communicate in. And SMS has been an absolute game changer for our business, but that's a whole other topic for a whole other day. And if anyone wants to know more about it, I'm happy to. Yeah, Jen, thank you, Jennifer, for putting that in chat. So the last thing that the idea that we have, the strategy that we have is really around growing club membership. And so can you focus for just a minute around really what that path going back to that buyer's continuum, getting that prospect up to a repeat buyer, getting them up to a wine club member, what does their path look like online? So they've come in, they've perhaps had an experience with us, or they found us online somehow. We've started a transaction with them. What does it look like for this to grow into a real relationship?
Yeah, definitely. So an interesting stat that we found looking at our aggregate data here is it takes a member on average 3.5 orders before they sign up for the club. And so there's a lot of implications here, right? If you're a winery and you're heavily relying on the tasting room to sign members up, there might be some memberships that you're missing out on there, right? And so we really encourage people to capture visitor data so that they can remarket to the visitors, because a lot of people, they're traveling, they're visiting out of city, out of state. If they've gone home and you haven't captured their info and you can't remarket to them and you can't get them to buy online after they've gone home, you're missing out on the opportunity to get those 3.5 orders that we see are typically needed before somebody signs up for the club there, right? A lot of times those orders are going to happen online. Maybe the first one happens in person, maybe the second or third happen online, and so it's just important to know that a lot of people, they need to kind of have a relationship for a while before they're actually going to commit to signing up for the club there. We also see that about 27% of club members have signed up from the web. This is a pretty high percentage. I think that this is probably pretty skewed from COVID, right? This includes COVID data when all the tasting rooms are closed there. So I don't know if this is, if we looked at maybe just the last 6 months, I don't know if this would still be this high. But it is important to know that a lot of people are going to basically sign up online. A lot of people are going to need to make orders online before they sign up, period. And so it's definitely important to, factor that in when you're building your site and you're communicating through your marketing and things like that. There's also a lot of online only brands out there that are, doing all the signups online, right? Wink is a good example with their wine subscription. That's all online. And there's a lot that can be learned from looking at some of these online only brands and how they kind of build their membership with an online only presence.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that. Really interesting to think about, going back to that idea of the buyer's continuum and how needs differ along the way, and how somebody needs to try us out for a little bit to get to know us before they commit to a club. Any advice on how we can go back and find them? So are we doing queries for this? Are we doing, what's the best way to find somebody who maybe had an in-person visit and then placed an order online? So they're at 2 experiences with us, and we know that at 3.5, they're likely to consider joining club, or likely to pull the trigger on joining club. How can I find those 1s and 2s and get them to that 3rd?
Yeah, queries would be a good way, right? You can look up, all customers who are not a club member that have had 1 or 2 orders in the past, 3 months or 6 months or something like that. So it's pretty manual. You'd have to come up with the criteria yourselves in terms of, what you kind of want to search by there. But there's definitely ways to kind of build those lists or build those queries, tag those customers, start doing outreach there. There are some ways to kind of automate that as well. Wine Pulse is one way. I believe they have some kind of segmentation based off of recency, frequency, and monetary value. And so you could use those kind of segments to figure out, who's in these segments, who's not a club member today. Okay, we're going to reach out to these people maybe in a little more of a personalized way. Maybe they get a phone call instead of just an email, or maybe they get, a better offer or something like that. But there are some ways to kind of figure out, who these people are. One manually is with the queries in Commerce7, but there's some automated ways using some integrated partners like Wine Pulse there.
Are there any other, just out of fairness, are there any other integrations that seem to work well that have made some headway in this as well?
Yeah, I don't know if they're still doing it, but Emetry for a while, which is now Pix. So I think they might have pivoted away from that. I don't know if that's still a service they offer. Dash by Juicebox Direct might be an option there as well. Most kind of integrated, kind of BI tools are going to have maybe something similar here. And if they don't, it's going to be pretty straightforward for them to basically just kind of populate the tags there.
Okay, got it. Great. Thank you. So, I mean, we're kind of talking, we're bouncing between this 30,000 foot view from a wise perspective, and then you're talking very tactical.
Mhm.
And what we've done is we've said, okay, from a member engagement, really the strategy, if that's the strategy, the solution is really around customization. Or that is one really great tactic to then employ. When we're looking at, member retention, then it's focused around this idea of embracing the buyer's continuum and having different types of experiences, whether it's online or in the tasting room, to meet guests where they are. When we talk about selling more wine via, particularly to our club members, but really to anyone, perhaps one of the winning solutions there is diving into website personalization, which
Mhm.
does take a little bit of investment to get that line of code dropped in. But it sounds like there are some really good carrots that we can start to put in place. There's some really good programming that we can start to automate. And then finally, around growing club membership is diving into, through the use of queries or through integrations, which again do come with a cost. Queries are things that you can do in-house on your own. Integrations, there's cost associated, but really understanding the online path to membership, really looking at for who's close to that, they've had 1 or 2 transactions with us. Let's do some outreach and see if we can get them up to joining the wine club. All right. So we have just a few minutes left, and there are questions that are coming in. And I want to make sure that we address some of your questions. Granted, we do only have an hour, so we're not going to be able to get to them all. But if there are, Jen, have you seen some themes come in that we haven't yet addressed?
I've seen 3 questions come in. I think some of them are mostly geared towards questions for Zach. So Elizabeth from Linmar wanted to know, regarding users choice clubs, what is the easiest way to calculate the same stats listed on the member engagement slide for like her individual winery?
Yeah, there's not a great way to do that natively in Commerce7. I mean, you could, filter for all your edited orders and export that and kind of do the math a little manually there in Excel, but that's a little annoying there. There's a lot of great tools, integrated partners that we could recommend. Like, I know we're plugging them a lot, but Wine Pulse is a good one to kind of to manage that there. Yeah, probably using kind of like a third party is the best option there.
And I just want to address really quickly, as both a Commerce7 in the business that I manage, as a Commerce7 client, I get no kickbacks, no commissions. I pay full price for Wine Pulse and for all these other systems. I just want to put that out there as well. It's important to me. I do get a little sneak peek of what's going on, new things that are coming up, but just want to make sure.
So question, Zach, do you have any data about how many members change to subscription plans when the wineries start to offer subscription? They're concerned about potential loss of revenue.
Yeah, not yet. That's something that I think we'll be able to announce at the end of November or early December when we do our data webinar and our annual data book. And I'll also send out the link to the video, the interview case study we did with the Texas winery that has a pretty big subscription club. There might be some insight there.
And there's a question. Thank you. There's a question that came in to me around using data to keep at-risk members happy. Specifically, what are members doing for their out-of-state members, or what are wineries doing for their out-of-state members as well? And Jen, if I'm not mistaken, that would be covered in the October session where we're talking beyond the tasting room for other DTC and identifying our at-risk members and engaging them in ways.
We could absolutely. Yep.
Great, thank you. Okay.
Zach, question about restricting certain products to tag. Even if a product is restricted to tag, if it is included as an option in club package, can anyone in the club package be able to add it up to the limit you set for that product regardless of tag?
Yep, that's correct. So with restricting the highly allocated products, definitely, and rather than putting those in the club itself, right, creating an allocation for those. So you can find the members that you want to give access to those products to. You can tag them, and then you can put them in that allocation there. And that would be a good example of where personalizations come in handy. Is you could say, anytime those specific members come to the site, those are going to be the first products they see. Maybe there's a nice message that says, we really value your membership over the last, 5 years. And we want you to be the first to have access to this exclusive wine here, right? Something like that. So now managing it through the clubs. If you're not, there is the option to have, say, restrict everyone in the club to just 1 or 2 bottles there. But if that's still going to give you inventory concerns, the better option is going to be to manage it through tags and allocations rather than having the product in the club.
Great.
Switching gears just slightly, question around international clubs and international members. Any insight that you can offer into that?
We are integrated with Gliding Eagle, which can help a lot for international fulfillment if you're a winery based near California. Yeah, that's a good partner to work with. Other than that, yeah, I guess I need a little more context maybe on the question there, but we do support international addresses. We do have wineries that ship to 92 different countries. And Gliding Eagle is a great partner to work with for the international shipments. And
then for the tax, because they handle the tax side as well, but they're California centric, or they're actually Bay Area centric.
They handle the fulfillment, and I think they handle the
filing.
The filing and what's it called? The duties.
Duties.
The duties. I think a lot of I think you don't need the licenses actually to ship to a lot of international countries. Not many countries I think are as kind of restrictive around that as the US.
Got it. Okay. That would be an interesting, and I'll connect to you, but it sounds like there's some interesting needs around, from an international perspective, wineries based internationally being able to ship internationally that aren't dependent upon Gliding Eagle. So we can take that offline, but we can make that connection.
I have a question. I have 2 questions that are somewhat similar. One, it's around getting members to choose their wine before they charge them with a traditional selection. And then the follow-up question from another person is, or how can you tell if club members have made their selections for a club shipment?
Or nudging them to make their selections before the default shipment.
Right. Any feedback from either of you on how to do this?
I use the automated email that goes within. So it's set to go. I have it. I think we do 1 week and 2 days. So 1 week prior to when we open it up the window, and then 2 days prior, the language changes pretty significantly. Where it's like, hey, this is the last chance it's going to bill, and it's going to be on its way. Zach, any other best practices that you've seen?
Yeah, I definitely recommend using the automated notifications. One thing to note is once the package processes, then they're not able to go on and edit anymore. But yeah, that is more of kind of a proactive way to get people to make the edits, before you actually charge. Because I know a lot of wineries that's a pain point there, is they got to deal with people wanting changes after the fact. So that's a little bit of a proactive way to do that. But yeah, that would be my kind of number 1 recommendation. Use the automated notifications, and if you have personalizations on the site, make it on the homepage where members can personalize the shipment.
Great. I am putting into chat a link for feedback. I'll also put it in an email, but would love to get your feedback from you to see if this was helpful, what we should change, how we can do things better. So give us your feedback. Don't be afraid to hurt our feelings. That's in the chat. And then we also have some upcoming classes on a slide. I just want to give the heads up. We have a wine club management one if anyone's interested in more strategy. So if there's any more questions, I'm out. Liz,
yeah, I just got a great one in there. And actually, I'd like to know how many users are using the MailChimp integration with C7? And then also, can you just briefly touch on Klaviyo and that integration?
Yeah, I'm not too sure how many people are using the MailChimp integration. It's definitely one of the more popular ones. And if you're not familiar with it, it basically syncs your Commerce7 account to your MailChimp account. It allows you to do segmentation in MailChimp based on Commerce7 data, automations in MailChimp based on Commerce7 data, like abandoned cart emails, thanking customers for their first purchase, following up on when they buy a specific SKU, things like that. You can also really easily drag and drop your Commerce7 products into your MailChimp emails. My understanding with the Klaviyo integration is it's very similar. So these guys, the developer who built the MailChimp integration, he's the same developer who built the Klaviyo one. And I believe it's a lot of the same functionality there.
Got it. Great. Thank you. All right. Well, I think we've got most of the questions that came into me, and Jen likewise.
So yeah, we're at 2 minutes too. So want to respect everyone's time and appreciate everyone's great participation and great questions. If there's anything we can do to help, either Commerce7 or Wise, please reach out to us and we will follow up with a link for the recording as well as the slides, as well as the link for feedback. So let us know how we can best help you and in your efforts to raise the bar with your DTC sales.
Awesome. Thank you everyone for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you.